Welcome everyone. Welcome to this day 2 of our Python programming for data science workshop. Let's quickly jump on to Jupyter Notebook. This is my Jupyter Notebook. This is where we had learned yesterday data types, numbers, strings, booleans. In today's session, we need to cover data structures, list, dictionary, tuples, set, and then we will get into the concept of mutable and immutable objects. So let's move to, this is all what we have executed. Let's move to list. Okay, data structures. Let us understand the concept of data structure. Data structures are basically made up of data types. For example, let's consider a brick and a wall. Brick, it's just a foundation element. Data types are foundation elements. When you place many bricks side by side and one above the other, you get a structure which is called a wall. You get a structure which we call a wall. Similarly, when you place many values which are strings, numeric, in a particular format, that particular format can be row column structure, we get something called as table, and that table in Python is called as data frame. And those who are programmers who come from programming background is well aware of the concept table. This is what we will learn when we get into packages. And before data frame, there are certain basic foundation structures which are called list, sequence of values. Just like we create a shopping list, sequence of items to be purchased, we get a list. Similarly, sequence of values saved together, but such that those values cannot be modified, we call it tuple. That's a fundamental difference between list and a tuple. List can be modified, tuple cannot be modified. Key value pair. When we have data stored in key value pair, that is, if you recollect telephone directories, where a person name is there, a mobile number is there, or a telephone number is there. Telephone number is the key, and correspond to that telephone number we get the name of the person. Directories, those were key value pairs, and that we call as dictionary. Set, a unique set of values, that is called a set in programming here. So let's quickly see list. List in Python is collection of objects. The same object can repeat multiple times. It does not make a difference. And everything, as you know, all values in Python is stored as objects. List is initialized using rectangular brackets. Lists are also called as iterables. Iterable means you can iterate through each and every element of a list. For example, I can have a for loop where I iterate through each and every element of the list. And finally, the most important, lists are mutable objects, which means they can be changed. Tuples, something which is very similar to a list. In Python, we have got another concept which is called tuple. Tuple is very similar to list. The fundamental difference between list and a tuple is lists are mutable, tuples are not mutable. And with list and tuple, I'm going to explain the concept of mutable, immutable. So here there is a spelling mistake, creating. Let me just correct it. Creating. Okay. Let's start with list. Empty list. You simply put rectangular bracket, open and close. It will create a empty list. Hash, as you know, is for comment. Single hash, typically many people use multiple hashes. I'm now creating a list here, which you can see it's comma separated values. Comma is a separator between the values. I initialize the list using a rectangular bracket. The values 1, A, 2, B, 3, C are elements of the list. Elements. 1 is an element. A is an element. At the same time, 1 is an object. A is an object. But we will call elements of the list. So let's get started by creating this list. My list is equal to 1A, 2B, 3C. How do we access the elements of a list? 1 is at the first position. A is at the second position. 2 is at the third position. However, indexing in Python starts from 0. So 1, as per Python index, is at 0th position. If I have to access the first element of my list, I'll have to write a syntax which is something like this. My list, and then you give the index position. The element which is at the 0th index position in this case will be returned back to you. If you simply write my list, all elements will be shown on the screen. However, if I want the element which is at 0th position, I'll have to write the syntax something like this. So let's execute these two syntaxes. My list 0. In case I want certain sequence of values, say first to third, I can write it something like this: 1 colon 3. So its colon here is a range starting from 1 up till 3. I want the elements of the list. Now here you have to note, when we specify a syntax which is in colon where we are giving a range, the start index is inclusive. The end index is not inclusive. So here when I say I want my list 1 colon 3, I am saying I get me the value which is at the first index position. Once again, remember, indexing in Python starts from 0. So when I say I want the element at the first index position, it will be A. Colon 3, which means I want also the element which is at the second position, but third will be exclusive. If I change the syntax something like this, 1 colon 5 and make it 2, 2 colon 5. So I'll get second, third, fourth. Fifth will be excluded. So let me run this 2 colon 5. I get the output 2, B, and 3. So this is how we access the elements of a list. So request you to kindly just ensure you execute the syntaxes in cell 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll see how to go about manipulating a list. Here is my list, to which I am saying append. Append means add a new element to the list. Just 1 minute. So here we run the append and I run this syntax to display the elements. Shift enter. I've executed append this syntax only once. So you can see XYZ has been added to the list. If I run it once more, here the cell number is 6. Now I am running it once again, control enter. So you now see XYZ coming 2 times. So we can append when we are able to make changes to the elements of a list. We can add new element. We can change the value of an existing element. For example, here, this syntax, my list 0 equal to AA. Currently the value is 1. If I run this, the value will become AA. But before that, let me delete the 0th element. So now when I run this, the first element is gone. Now I'll change the element at the 0th index position. 0th index position now is A. I'll make it AA. So basically I can modify the value. I can delete the elements. I can add new elements. All this means list is mutable. Mutable means you can change. Now, if a list is mutable, what is the impact of this? We have to understand from the point of view of mutable objects and immutable objects. So let us try understanding this concept of mutable objects and immutable object. I am creating list 2 is equal to my list. So here what I am doing is I am referring list 2 to my list. So let us do that. Control enter. Let us now see the ID. Print ID. ID, if you recollect, is the function to get the memory pointer of an object. So let us see what is the ID of list 2 and my list. Obviously, the ID should be same because my list 2 is pointing to the same object which is being pointed by my list. Okay, having understood this much, memory pointer is same. Now let me say list 2 dot append new element added to list 2. I have run append on list 2, but changes will also get reflected in my list. Control enter. I made the change in list 2 using append. However, the change is also being reflected in my list. Reason is list 2 was referring to the same object as which was being referred by my list. Any change you are making in that object will also get reflected in my list. And this is what you have to remember when you are working with mutable objects. If you simply make this kind of a thing, assuming I have made a backup copy, you are actually not made a backup copy because both objects are pointing to the same object. Both variables are pointing to the same object. If you have to really make a copy, let me see whether there is a copy function. There is a copy function. Now here there is a shortcut what I have used. I wrote my list dot and then I just press C and tab. Tab will give me help on what all functions matching with the initial character C, or if I say A and tab append automatically autofill, or I just simply put tab, all the functions which are available will come up. So here now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one more object below, list3 equal to my list dot copy. Why it's giving me error? My list is not defined. Oh, my underscore list is. Yeah. And now what I'm going to do is list3 dot append, or rather than append, let me use one more syntax, -1. -1 is used to refer elements from behind. Reverse indexing. Last, or say reverse indexing. So I'm now changing the last element and changing it. This was new element added to list 2. We made a copy. So this element I'm now going to change. Let me see whether the change is reflected or not. Below list 3, control enter. Okay, reverse indexing is working, right? It has to. Okay, quickly try all of these indexes which I have explained. Anywhere, any doubts, feel free to ask. Let us also see my list. I just shown you list 3. The point is we should see whether the changes are reflected in my list. My list remains intact. There is no change in my list. We now move to another concept, which is tuple. Before I move, I can delete any object from my memory. All these objects which you are creating are actually getting stored in memory. In case you want to delete any of those objects, you can run the del command, del, and then my list, it will delete that list. If I now try to refer my list, it will say my list object not found, my list not defined. Okay. We now get into tuples. Tuple is basically cousin of list. It works exactly the same as list, only major difference is tuple is immutable. Once you have defined a tuple, you cannot modify. You cannot add new element. You cannot change value of an existing element. You cannot delete an element. It is immutable. How we create a tuple? In list we used rectangular bracket. In tuple we use round bracket. So how do we create a tuple? So here is a syntax for creating tuple. Here I've used round bracket. Please note that. So if I run this syntax and control enter, and let me introduce a cell below and say type T, control enter, it says it's a tuple. I could have also created a tuple something like this. Sequence of values, comma separated values. It will also create a tuple. This is another way of creating a tuple. When I pass a string, it will break the string into characters and it will make a tuple. So there are multiple ways of making a tuple. You can use the tuple function explicitly. You can pass the values in round bracket, or you can pass sequence of values, comma separated. And in case you have only one value with which you want to create a tuple, then just put comma and leave it. So here I just executed this, and let me now see the type of T. It says tuple. So this is also a way to create a tuple. In case I would not have put this comma, it would have said type string str. Okay, so simply putting one comma converts it to tuple. Now tuple is immutable. We cannot change values of tuple. What it means, referencing any element of a tuple remains the same. The syntax remains same. Let me create a tuple once again, because last execution I made it single character A. So now I've re-executed this syntax. So it has got 5 values A, B, C, D, E. If I refer the first element will be B, not A. Why? Indexing starts from 0. Shift enter, it will give me B. Now I want to make a change. I want to make first element as C, capital B. Let me try. Shift enter, error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. We executed this kind of syntax for list. It executed very well. However, this syntax does not work for tuple because tuples are immutable. So I hope mutable immutable concept is very clear by now. Tuple is very similar to list, with the difference tuple are immutable. You cannot do addition, deletion, modification of any element once a tuple is created. So quickly we now move from list and tuple to two another important data structures. There are certain more syntaxes. I'll skip some of those. The objective of workshop is not to do a training where each and everything will be taught. Some syntaxes I'll skip. Those syntaxes are all given in the videos. The objective of the workshop is to give a broad idea. With that broad idea, then refer the videos which has been shared with you people and gain more knowledge. Dictionaries, as you already know and understand, key value pair. The way to create dictionary is use braces. These curly braces, open curly brace, close curly brace. Key colon value. Example, telephone directory, yellow pages. Now those telephone directory and yellow pages has become history, but once upon a time they were very famous. From that yellow pages we will see mobile number and then find the name of the person, all of those things. So here I can create key value, key value, key value. Most important, a given key has to be unique. You cannot have same key coming twice. Let me try this. Key 1 value 2. Control enter. What I did, I said key 1 value 1, then I said key 1 value 2. The second key and its value is presiding over the first occurrence of the key. So in a dictionary, you cannot have a key repeating. I run the syntax once again, control enter. So this is a quick example of dictionary. I can create state capital, union territories, all of that. I can do that. I can modify dictionary also. So here what we are going to do is we are going to create a dictionary, let's execute this part of the syntax where I'm creating a dictionary place, and I'm just giving some 4 cities: Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai. Control enter, shift enter. So here I have this dictionary where there is only one key. I can access the values of the key something like this. Control enter. So here I have given the key, and based on key I access the values of the dictionary. Is dictionary mutable or immutable? If I can make changes, it is mutable. If I cannot make changes, it is immutable. So let's see whether we can make changes or not. ID D1 will give me the memory location. Now to this D1 dictionary, I am adding another key, STD code, and for the 4 cities which we mentioned above, I am passing the values. Control enter, shift enter. The new key STD code has got added. Let me see the memory ID, shift enter. Let me compare. This is 360 ending and this is 360 ending and the same ID. The object to which D1 was referring, the same object is modified when I add the new key STD code, which means dictionary is mutable object. If you are modifying an object and the memory location remains same, which means it is mutable. So we just demonstrated we can add a new element to a dictionary and the memory ID remains same. So just try out syntaxes given in cell 38, 36, 38, 39, 40, 41. Next element after dictionary, we have set. A collection of unique elements. Set concept, I think so we all learned in our school days, where we have a set of numbers. Now when we say set of numbers, we find unique numbers. So here in this syntax, if you see, I have put a sequence of values 1 1 2 2 2 3 3 3 something and 4 4 5 5, and certain numbers are repeating, and these values are enclosed in curly braces. Similar to dictionary, we use curly braces for set. Only difference is in dictionary, key value pair is there. Key is unique. In a set, we don't have values. We don't have the key value pair format. We have only values, but those values all have to be unique. In case values are not unique, it will make them unique. So if I run this, the cell which I just executed, this cell number, where my focus is of the cursor, I just executed this and I run this control enter. You see 43, 44 cell, the value of 112233 is now shown as 12345. So basically the point is, if you have certain data where some information is repeating, from that data you just want unique values, you can pass that data to form a set. Typically, what will happen? For example, you are reading data which is, say, a resume. You are writing some machine learning algorithm where you are reading a resume of a person applying for a job, and there will be certain words which will repeat. You just want to find out what are the unique words which are coming in the resume. When you read a resume, it will be a sequence of words, and that sequence of word will be list. If you pass that list to a set function, it will get converted to set and you will get the unique set of words. Here I have given numbers, and here this number, if you see the syntax, just break the code into smaller elements. This part is a list. This list is being passed as a parameter to function set. And when you run this code, you get the values which are unique. And because the values are coming in curly braces, you can understand it is a set. So I also explained the application of set, where you want unique values from a list. That can be while you read a resume and you got just raw text. From raw text, you are getting unique set of words. Set again can be modified. You can change a set. As such, set is a mutable object. So what we saw, 4 data structures. We have learned dictionary, set, list, tuple.
Tuple.
List is basically mutable. Tuple is immutable. Dictionary is mutable. Set is mutable. And how do we find whether an object is mutable or not? If we can make changes to that object and the memory ID remains same, that object is mutable. With this, we have completed the data structures, the concept of objects, and the concept of mutable, immutable objects in Python. We now move to the next topic, which is modules and packages. Any questions at this point of time, let me know. Thank you. See you in tomorrow's session.